Regular programming will not be seen, so that may bring Family Channel special.
So there was a moment which seems like an eternity, and then David said, if I was asking, what would you say? And I said, well, if you were asking, I would say yes.
I was talking on the phone after we met, then we talked on the phone, and I thought, I must be crazy. How can I be in love with someone that doesn't even call me?
Why waste it? Why don't we get married and have a great party? And she said,
Drop dead.
her exact words.
Marry me. 2 words that will change your life. Good evening from California's Romantic Mission Inn. Tonight we're going to visit with 3 fascinating celebrity couples whose lives were changed the instant they decided to marry. Hi, I'm Cristina Ferrare, and in just a moment you'll hear about the creative ways our couples revealed their love, their marriage proposals, and the special details that made each one of their weddings unique. Who popped the question after 13 long years? NYPD Blue star Dennis Franz or his lovely and patient bride, Joni? Did David Anspaugh get down on bended knee when he spoke the magic words to Touched by an Angel's Roma Downey? And why did Robert Urich say marry me to Heather Menzies before they had even started dating? Stay with us for the whole story. Later we're going to go back in time and reveal some of the love secrets of this enchanting hotel where Hollywood's legendary stars came to play. Tonight, the impassioned kiss that sealed the wedding of that demanding movie queen, Bette Davis. But first, we're treated to a love at first sight story that will capture your hearts. You're about to meet Roma Downey. She's beautiful, she's lots of fun, and she's happily in love with her husband, acclaimed film director David Anspaugh. We caught up with the couple on a quick trip to Los Angeles. As you're about to hear, David and Roma have managed to pack a big romance into a remarkably brief amount of time. Okay, Roma and David, yours is a story that I can't wait for you to tell our audience. Now, let me get this straight. You fall in love, you move to Utah, you get married, you buy a house, and 4 months ago you had a beautiful baby.
Yes.
But less than 3 years ago, you two didn't even know one another.
That's right.
How did this whirlwind romance begin?
Go ahead.
Well, we have a mutual friend, a young woman called Cass Schwabe, who was an assistant of mine on a miniseries I did called A Woman Named Jackie, about the life of Jackie Kennedy. And she was David's assistant on his film Rudy. And she set us up. She set us up on a blind date.
I wasn't dating at the time, and well, I was really consumed with the movie. Anyway, Cass kept talking about this wonderful friend that she had worked with named Roma Downey. And she said, you guys have to get together. I said, Cass, I'm too busy. I can't think about it. I hadn't had a great track record with, I love actors, but I'd had a problem, you know, dating. Anyway.
So you date a lot of actors then?
But, so I finally, she was at my house one afternoon, and I said, she brought it up again, and I said, Cass, look, I said, I'll tell you what, if you pick up the phone and she's at the other end and she's available for dinner tonight, I said, I'd be very happy to do this as a favor to you if you promise me that after that, I'll never hear her name mentioned again. I won't have to deal with this again. She said, I swear to you.
So how did she describe David to you?
Oh, she said that he was very dashing and very charming and very kind and articulate. But at the same time, I'd never been on a blind date in my life.
Really?
And I was really, really nervous, you know, and I thought, oh, I don't know. And she says, well, look, I just have him call you. And, you know, she was so persistent that really I think that we both decided, well, you know, what harm could there be? We'll meet, we'll have dinner, we'll say goodbye, and we'll put an end to Cass's insistence that we do this. So David called me up, and you know, we were both sort of embarrassed and stuttering on the phone, and he said, so what about dinner tonight? And anyway, and I said yes, and I put the phone down. I thought, oh my God, he's going to think like I have absolutely no life, you know. I could at least have said, well, you know, maybe tomorrow or next week or something. I was like, oh yes, yes. So he picked me up at my house, and
Well, you met me at the gate.
What did you think when you saw David for the first time?
Oh, I thought he was lovely.
Did you do the same thing, take your breath away too?
I did. I thought he was lovely, and I thought I was very cool until I opened the gate, you know. I thought, you know, the actor in me, I'd been worried. I thought, don't be nervous, you know, we'll bring him in, offer him a glass of wine, we'll go. I started showing him, he said, oh, this is a lovely apartment you have. And I said, you know, trying to be gracious, well, would you like a tour? So I took him on a tour around the house. This is how nervous I was. And this is the kitchen, you know, and this is the living room, and opened the curtain, and this is my closet, you know. And as I was doing it, I was like, oh, God, I'm showing him my closet, and just what he needs to see.
Couldn't wait to show you my closet.
Anyway, we went to a restaurant in Venice called Hal's for dinner.
All right, David, and you were quoted, and I quote, as saying, when I kissed her at midnight, that was it.
It must have been around 12 o'clock or something. She just walks over to me with pool cue in hand and planted herself.
It has to be said that I was shooting a very good game of pool.
She was, yeah,
and
legitimately.
I have never shot a game of pool quite like that since,
No,
you know. So timing, it was all in the timing.
Speaking of timing, I was right there with the pool cue in hand. She planted herself right in front of me and said, I think it's time that you kissed me now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cheeky.
Oh, yeah. So, what did you do?
Actually, I was taken aback. I was a little
like
shy.
Like a good gentleman, he obliged.
But I had to oblige her, right? Yeah. And that was the beginning of that.
So you go to Utah to do the
Actually,
pilot.
we went to Wilmington, North Carolina, is where the pilot was filmed. And David was able to come with me, which was great, because, you know, in those days, the idea of being a part at all, I think, would have been just awful. So he came down with me, and it was the first night of shooting, I guess.
What happened on the first night of shooting?
In the original pilot, she actually flew, and she was having a test flight that night. She
had
was.
a big harness on, you know, and they had me wired up and up and
so,
away.
I mean, I literally show up on this set, and I'm looking for Roma, and there, look, she's 60 feet in the air on a crane, you know, in this harness.
So they lowered me down, and I couldn't even sit, you know, I had to like lean up against things because of this thing that I was wearing.
And she walked over and I just told her how lovely she looked.
Yes, and I said, I was slightly self-conscious of the hair curlers donning my head, and I said, oh, what, could you love a woman with curlers in her hair then? And you said?
You tell him.
And David said, I could marry a woman with curlers in her hair. And now you have to understand, we hadn't really discussed marriage. So
This was not planned, by the way.
my heart was beating very fast, and my head quickly, as I'm thinking, God, don't embarrass you. He may not be asking you. I mean, I had no, you know, to come out of nowhere. So there was a moment which seems like an eternity, and then David said, if I was asking, what would you say? And I said, well, if you were asking, I would say yes. So I think we kissed, and
it was done.
And it was a done deal.
Yeah.
It was a done deal.
Oh, and there was a production assistant that was walking by at the time. And I said, would you take a picture of us right now, please? And he said, well, sure, but why don't you move over here where the... I said, no,
And why don't you wait till your hair is down?
Yeah,
No,
I said, right here, right now.
Roma and David received a wonderful wedding gift from co-star Della Reese. We'll find out what it was in just a moment. We're talking with Touched by an Angel's Roma Downey and director David Anspaugh. They met 3 years ago and quickly fell in love. Tell us about the time, though, that you took David to Ireland to meet your family for the very first time.
Oh, yeah. You know, I guess, were you nervous meeting my family?
Of course I was, yeah.
And we all speak, you know, even when I get on the phone to anybody from home, my accent comes on, you know, 1,000,000 times stronger, and it speeds up. So David was surrounded by people who he guessed were speaking English, but he wasn't quite sure.
He couldn't understand anybody.
So they would say things to him like,
so
David, how are you doing?
It's
really,
smile,
he was going, really great to meet you, David, how are you? And he would go, yes.
So you ended up not getting married?
No, we ended up getting married in Salt Lake. You know, I think the problem it's a good problem to have when you're working so much. And don't get me wrong, I'm delighted that my series has taken off and is as successful as it has been. But consequently, it leaves you, you know, we have very little time to have a life, you know. So we grabbed a weekend at Thanksgiving last winter in between work. I mean, we had Friday off, I guess. We got married on the Friday, and I was back at work Monday morning.
It was the day after Thanksgiving.
It was the day after Thanksgiving, yeah.
And you were married by your co-star, Della Reese?
Della was the minister, and it was lovely. We threw it together rather quickly, and I think it was probably just as well, because I know you can spend years planning a wedding, and this, for something that was brought together as quickly as it was quite lovely. It was really magical. I invited Vanessa, who's my stepdaughter, David's daughter from his previous marriage. Vanessa, who's now 17, to be my bridesmaid, and she happily obliged. And my brother Lawrence flew in from Ireland to stand in for my father and to give me away. And it was just lovely, wasn't it?
Roma, you've made an incredible journey from your childhood, dodging bullets in the streets of Northern Ireland, to today with your own TV series in America. Was it more than just the luck of the Irish?
Well, yes. Obviously, I think there was a lot of luck in there, but I'm asked a lot, you know, because the series is, I play an angel, it's about angels. I'm always been asked, do I believe in angels? And I look at my childhood and from whence I came, and I look at the journey that I made to get here, and I really believe that I couldn't have made that journey if there hadn't been a few angels to help me along the way, you know. There are some days where I have to pinch myself on the set, or usually it's when David turns up and he's holding our daughter, and I'm out there working, and I feel so complete, you know, a kind of a sense of wholeness finally. And I think that it was the birth of our daughter that allowed me to feel that, because my own mother died when I was 10. And I think finally having a wee girl of my own allows me to have the relationship that I have missed all of these years, you know?
Yes, and I know you're thankful for your beautiful little angel, your baby.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about her?
Oh, well, we hate talking about her.
Yeah, do we have to?
How old is she?
4.5 months.
She was born June 3rd, and oh, she's lovely.
What did you name her?
We named her Riley Marie.
How did you come up with the name Riley Marie?
We honoured both of our mothers. My mother's name was Maureen O'Reilly, so I took my mama's last name, and David's mum's name is Marie. So we honoured both of our mothers, and she's great. I know everybody says this, but you know, she really is.
No,
she really is great. You know? She's really very sweet and a very gentle-natured little girl.
Well, if you had one wish for the future for both of you as a couple, what would that wish be?
Great health.
Yeah. I was going to say I'd love to work with him, and it sounds so fickle after that. He's this great, profound answer, and I was going to say, wouldn't it be great if we could work together? But that too. If we could be really healthy working together. That'd be good.
Thank you both. It was really delightful meeting both of you and talking to you.
Thank you
for taking the time. Whether it's over a pool table in LA or wearing curlers in North Carolina, love is where you find it. And many couples have found it here at the Mission Inn. Nearly 100 years ago, wealthy Europeans and East Coast tycoons traveled west for the warm winters. They, along with many Hollywood celebrities, took special trains from Los Angeles to show their sweethearts the lush Southern California citrus groves and to stay here at the romantic Mission Inn.
From 1902 until 1931, this magical structure grew to fill out a full city block. It is an exotic mix of arcades and gardens, turrets and domes, towers and lantern-lit pathways. It is also stained glass by Tiffany and hand-painted tile. And the Mission Inn has a history rich with romance. Presidents have honeymooned here, movie stars have married here, and the wealthy have traveled here in style. Why, back in 1913, Henry Ford arrived at the Mission Inn with 2 touring cars, one for his family and the other entirely for his luggage.
And today, over 80 years later, the inn is still a backdrop to luxury and romance. Stay with us because we're about to leave the inn and join Dennis Franz and his wife Joni. Wait until you see how TV tough guy Detective Andy Sipowicz melts into the sensitive, real-life Dennis when he tells us how he said, "Marry me." Welcome back to Marry Me. This next story is full of surprises. Most of us know Dennis Franz as the Emmy-winning actor from NYPD, while some might consider him an unlikely female fans and his new wife agree. And no one could ever accuse Dennis of rushing to marry. I think he even surprised himself when he finally proposed to the love of his life. We met one evening in the front home where the story begins. This is a great love story, unbelievable story. But Joni, I want to know where you were in your life when you met Dennis.
We were both at, and I was there with friends of my, couple of buddies. She was there, and they were at a table nearby. She was continually being asked to dance by this one guy that I don't think she cared much for. And a song was about to begin, and he was on his way over, and I watched this happen, and she was looking around in desperation to somebody to rescue her. So she leaned over to me, she said, "Would you dance with me?" And so I snatched her up, we danced, and that was the start of it.
So what did you think when this beautiful woman walked over to you and asked you to dance?
Obviously, I was flattered, and I found out why she asked me to dance, to rescue her from being asked again by this guy that she didn't much care for. But immediately when we danced, I think we felt something, and it was a good feeling. And afterwards, the guys were kind of razzing me, and I said, "You know what? This one was a little different, guys. I said, this one feels real nice." So we exchanged numbers, and we got together shortly after that.
In fact, Dennis did not call for 3 weeks, and I was really, really disappointed.
Not immediately. I called. I called immediately, but then there was 3 weeks. Might have
that
lapsed
he didn't
somewhere.
call. Yeah, that he called right away, but then there was 3 weeks in between us talking on the phone. After we met, then we talked on the phone, and I thought, I must be crazy. How can I be in love with someone that doesn't even call me?
You were in love with him at that point?
Totally. I would never believe in love at first sight, but I did. It was totally.
You met over 14 years ago, and a few years later, Dennis moves in. Who was the first one to say, "Let's live together"?
I was the first one to actually move in with her. And for, let me say, 10 years, I still kept an apartment that I didn't spend a night in. I didn't spend one night in I'd say it was 9 years.
Most expensive storage place you've ever seen.
It just held all my stuff.
Well, now you've been together for quite some time at that period, and then you are turning 40 years old, the big 40, and I understand that you wanted to give Dennis a birthday party, but it didn't go as well as you had hoped it would go.
Oh, and terrible. First of all, it was supposed to be a surprise, and someone showed up an hour early, but weeks before that, Dennis had said to me, "If you're thinking about having a party for me, don't." And of course, being the type of person I am, oh, never mind. We're going to surprise him anyway. And he really did not want a surprise. So he was very, very nice to the 50 people that came to our house that night.
Right.
But he didn't speak to me at all. He was not happy.
So yes, when the people started coming in, I felt betrayed and angered, and I couldn't wait for them to leave. We almost broke up that night.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, did you not speak for a few days? I mean, how long did this go on? Did you leave? Did
we spoke plenty of that
Oh,
night.
did you?
Well, he didn't speak to me when
After
everybody was there. After they left, he spoke to me a lot.
Were you?
And then it was over. I mean, not we weren't over, but it was, you know, it was a matter of, I think he realized I was trying to make him happy.
Right. But things ended up between these two, and we will hear about the unbelievable way Dennis proposed right after this.
Air travel provided by Hawaiian Airlines. Hawaiian is Hawaii's flagship airline.
We're We're back in the home of Joni and Dennis Franz, and earlier they told us about a birthday disaster at the start of their relationship. So now, after all these many wonderful years of being together, you turned 50.
And then 51.
Yeah, then, okay, so 50.
And 52 is knocking on the door.
So what did you do? Did you want to plan another party? Did you dare ask him to do another
I
party
didn't
at
ask
50?
him. I said to him, I am having a party.
Ah.
And I am, it is going to be a surprise.
So there.
And you are turning 50, and that's all you're going to know. And I will tell you when to show up. I will take you, but you're not going to know anything else. And he did not know anything else. He, I think, was very surprised. At his whole family flew in, and they were here when he came home one night, and the next night was the big party.
The surprise element was, like she said, when I came home after work, and it was late, it was maybe 11:30, and all of our relatives from Chicago, for the first time ever, were all here in the house. And I walked in the room, and our daughters were in from school, and they were sitting on the sofa, and there was a mound of gifts, and I thought, oh good, well, even though I'm a little tired after work, it's going to be nice to have a little party celebration with them. And I rounded the corner, and I saw out of the corner of my eye all these faces that was the very last thing I expected to see here in my house for the first time, all my relatives, and she had flown them in, and I said, wow, that was a wonderful surprise. The first thing I thought was, where is everybody going to sleep?
We had it taken care of.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. But speaking of surprises, though, the evening ended up with a big surprise for you, Joni. And Dennis, you want to tell us what happened when you got up on the stage?
It was just such a wonderful time. I got up on the stage to thank everybody for their kindness and for being there, and it was very spontaneous. And I thought, boy, if I don't do it now, I'm going to regret this. So I asked Joni to step up to thank her, and then in front of everybody, I said, this is totally unplanned, and I don't have anything in my pocket. I wish I'd have thought it out earlier. But would you marry me? And it was great. Everybody went up for bed.
Everybody went crazy.
They went nuts.
Yeah.
They went, oh, my sister got on the table and started dancing. People were screaming, crying.
What did you do? What was your reaction?
Let's see, I remembered to say yes, and then I started crying. But I didn't hear the beginning of it. I was looking out, and I looked down at our niece, and she was crying very hard. And I looked across the room, and Joe Mantegna had just finished talking about Dennis, and he had tears, running down his cheek.
Oh yeah, I had plenty of tears in my eyes that day, and I think part of it was looking at Dennis and Joni up there, and behind him there was a photograph of him from high school looking like Johnny Unitas, and then here was Dennis looking not at all like Johnny Unitas currently, and dropping on one knee, and I mean there was Schlachter, as I call him, Dennis Franz, Sipowicz, Bunce, all these different people he's played all his life. My friend for 25 years, on one knee proposing to his wife-to-be. It was a moment to remember. I'll never forget the energy in that room, and we just all, I could drop a tear thinking about it right now. It was really great.
And then he said something about my ear kind of caught pocket. There's nothing in his pocket, and I immediately thought, oh my God, what did I forget? Because I tried to take care of every detail about the party. And then I caught it. And then I realized, wait a minute, you better pay attention. I think you're getting me asked to be married right now.
So that moment, gosh, did you have that moment on tape by any chance? So you can always have it? Yeah.
I do.
That's good.
Because I'm not prepared for it, and I don't have anything in my pocket, but in front of you all, will you marry me?
Our nephew, he swears that he just knew it, he felt it coming, and he had his camera totally rolling. So we were really happy about that.
Tell us,
about the wedding. Where was it, first of all? Where'd you have it?
It was at a beautiful estate in Carmel. Stone Pine is the name of the estate. A beautiful area.
Let me interrupt you. I have to tell you, Dennis planned every detail of this wedding. When we got there, you know, weeks or months before, and went through the garden, I was really, not that I didn't care, but he has so much more vision of things, and for instance, the wedding coordinator there at the estate, this pine stone, asked, you know, do you want stone pine, do you want flowers here, there? And he knew exactly along the bushes where he wanted baby's breath, exactly where we would stand. She asked me, what would I like in my bouquet? And I said, I don't care. And then he mentioned what he thought. And I mean, it was just, it was even made it much more special and more romantic to me because it was so much involvement on his part. I was brought in on a horse-drawn carriage, and he totally had thought of that idea, and it was just...
So romantic.
It was very romantic.
It was really sweet. It was a special day.
Watching the two of you together, it's like you're together for the first week. It's really lovely to see that nothing has been diminished over the years. And you've been together for 13 years and married 18 months. Do you feel any different now that you're married?
Oddly enough, there is a sense of, a further sense of commitment once you do get married. I didn't think there was going to be a difference. I really had felt the commitment. I know Joni had felt the commitment to each other, and you know, that theory that I was telling you about, that if it's not broken, don't fix it. There is still a closure of the relationship once and it's a mental one that I certainly do feel, and I know Joni feels. There's a real comfort in knowing that that it's a permanent thing.
It's very lovely. I want to thank both of you for taking the time this evening. I know you just got back from taping NYPD Blue, and coming home to find all this in your house. It can't be too relaxing, but I want to thank you so much. Your story is really wonderful and inspirational, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being with us.
Thank you, Cristina.
Dennis and Joni Franz, two people who have really found their perfect mates. But not all celebrities find such a smooth path to love. In fact, one legendary star found it a particularly bumpy ride. And her story is entwined with the Mission Inn. It was here at the lovely St. Francis Wedding Chapel that screen legend Bette Davis walked down the aisle to marry William Grant Sherry in 1945. Sherry was 7 years younger than Bette, a bodybuilder and an unemployed artist of clown paintings.
But his rugged looks had attracted the star when they met at a party. Just 5 weeks later, Bette decided to make him husband number 3, despite the desperate objections of her family. By their wedding day, the couple was in a high state of nerves. The 37-year-old Davis, dressed in a brown check suit, fidgeted throughout the ceremony. The hulking bridegroom, meanwhile, never once looked at her, until at last it was time to kiss the bride. That, according to newspaper reports, Sherry did with considerable fervor.
Perhaps Betty's own words best describe her high emotion the moment after the ceremony ended. She turned to the assembled guests and said, "Who will get me a cigarette and a glass of champagne?" It was no surprise that the Sherry-Davis relationship remained rocky throughout their marriage. Another Hollywood chapter that began in this chapel at the famous Mission Inn. Coming up, a visit with TV leading man Robert Urich and his wife, former child star Heather Menzies. Welcome back. Now it's time for a beautiful story of love and drama and hope. When actress Heather Menzies was a girl, she starred in the movie The Sound of Music and began a lifelong friendship with Liesl, the oldest Von Trapp's sister, played by Charmian Carr.
Heather and I met when she was 13 and I was 21. We have been friends, good friends, almost like sisters ever since. She didn't want to marry someone just because they were tall, dark, and handsome. She wanted someone who was willing to make a commitment to a marriage, that wanted it to last, was willing to work on it and form a true partnership. And she got that man.
And she married that man, Robert Urich, TV Spencer, Dan Tana, and most recently, The Lazarus Man. But this lovely couple was hit with devastating news. It was discovered that Bob had a rare form of cancer. Bob is currently undergoing treatment, and thankfully, doctors predict a full recovery. This is the inspiring story of two strong people whose love has been put to the test. Please join us. Okay, you guys have been together for a very, very long time. And when was the first time that you noticed each other? Very first time.
Ooh.
Oh, well, this...
I remember a friend of ours, an actor friend of ours, introduced us in a hallway. But remember, in Joan Darling's acting class. Remember that? And I was coming in from, he doesn't remember this. So I guess I was the one that remembers first. Is that relevant?
Yeah, it was a passing kind of
it was like, hi, how are you? Next.
And I just couldn't, at that point, I was single, and
yourself.
I couldn't get pretty girls even to say hello to me.
No. So when was the first time that you two really had contact and had a conversation with each other?
Sometime later.
Yeah, it was Libby's corned beef hash.
So you two got the Libby's corned beef hash commercial, but you were actually cast as a bride and a groom.
It was down on Wilshire Boulevard in Westwood, in the big Presbyterian church, a Gothic church down there. And I said, you know, while we're dressed like this, why waste it? Why don't we get married and have a great party? And she said...
What'd you say?
Drop dead.
Her exact words. Drop dead.
I thought, what a
you
line.
Jerk.
I didn't say you jerk.
Did you think he was
you jerk?
Didn't you think about it, though? I mean, there you were all dressed up, and he's looking so handsome, and you so beautiful. Didn't you at least... Did a little spark go at that point?
I think I was going through my I don't want to have anything to do with actors stage.
Oh.
You know, and I had this wall, you know, don't talk to me, don't look at me, don't, you know. So I sort of had this wall up. You know?
Okay.
I thought, gosh, here comes this chiseled jaw. You know, I was afraid of him. You know, I think that's what it was.
So you did. Could you be afraid of him? Look at him. When you did ask her out, what did you say to her, and where'd you go? And did you say yes?
Yes, she did. I had a friend who was actually asked her to the movies.
In the meantime, you had been planning to take a trip to Europe.
Basically, yeah. I had, you know, some money put away, and I was going through this period in my life where I wanted to just take off. You know, I wanted to backpack through Europe and stay in hostels and, you know.
So let's get this straight. She did not want to be involved with actors, and she wanted to take off. She was running from something.
Yes. Well, maybe I should be maybe Dr. Cristina should be talking to Heather here.
Well, I don't know. It was, you know, when I was 23 years old, that's what you do when you're 23. You know, you can do that. You have the freedom. So I said, do you want to come? Just like that. I said, do you want to come?
And I said, well, I have no reason why I couldn't go to you. Why not? So we just sort of
dropped everything.
We paid the utility
But he
bills
had an American Express card.
How long were you guys there for?
Well, we were there until we ran out of money, basically. We were there for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And at that point, you came back to L.A. and stayed together for a while. What made you decide to propose?
I remember my parents coming to visit for the first time to California. And my father walked, I was still one that didn't have the ramps. They walked down the steps from the airplane. And I sort of met him at the gate, and without a pause, he didn't say, hello, nice to see you, son, great to be in California for my first time in my life. He said, if she's good enough to live with, she's good enough to marry. I was like, boom. It's like, okay, that was that.
Did you give Heather an engagement ring?
It was like microscopic. I mean,
it was.
He needed the Hubble telescope
I love that
to
ring,
find this ring.
I love that ring.
Yeah.
I still have it? No, I still have it. I don't wear it anymore because he got me another one.
Oh.
He got me another
You know,
one.
where is that ring?
It's in the vault.
Maybe it's time to hawk that ring. I don't know.
So you got married, and I understand there was one little problem.
I was late.
Why were you late?
I was an hour late. Actually, an hour and a half late. I was working. The director promised me. He promised me that I'd be out of there at 4:30. I was in Santa Monica. 3 more scenes to go, and
sure. You were in show business long enough to know that that's not the case.
I was a wreck.
So you went in that morning and said to the director, I'm getting married this afternoon.
Yeah, he knew I
need to be out of here by 4.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
And he said, don't worry, no problem. We'll work it out. We'll work around it. And I think I was released at 8 o'clock, and I just flew.
What she has failed to tell you is that the last scene of the day of that movie,
yeah, I forgot about this.
she was being beaten up by whoever. So they had all this makeup on her face.
Oh, no.
She had busted lips and blood and, you know, big puffy eye, and so she was being beaten in this scene. So her face was covered with this makeup. So the whole room had been waiting for a couple hours now when she comes flying through.
Holding my script, my sweater, and my hair is flying.
Through the front door, looking like she had just gone 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. It's like, oh, hello, darling. This is the girl I'm going to marry. You know, she's a bouncer down at the Kit Kat Club on the side. So it was, I don't know, an auspicious beginning.
So now you're happily married and you want to start a family.
You were hoping to adopt a baby. This story I love. I already have goosebumps thinking about it. It's such a share it with our audience about your baby Ryan.
Well, we had been trying, and we were very frustrated. You know, we went through the whole infertility thing, and we were on an adoption list for a long time, and
working in Vegas.
Working in Vegas. He was doing Vegas, so we were actually sort of living part of the time in Vegas. We had a condo there. And we had come home for Christmas because that's what we always did. They had sent a letter to us telling us that the birth would be imminent, you know, but we didn't get the letter because we had gone to Los Angeles for Christmas. And so I get this phone call. We were having a Christmas party that night, and I was doing all the cooking, and so I was crazed, as you know what that's like, Christina.
Yes.
And he was out shopping, doing errands with his father. And we had been trying to get tickets to go to Hawaii during this time because we were depressed about, you know, the frustration of not being able to start a family. You can
Can I finish it?
Take it, sweetheart.
Because I was with my father, and we had taken them to Hawaii before, and when I called the travel agent, they said, it's like Martin Short. Robert, it's crazy Christmas. I cannot get into Maui.
You wanted to tell a story because we could do the voices.
So, so I'm talking to my father, and we pull in the driveway, and Heather comes running out. I said, see, I knew this travel agent, if anybody could get us into this hotel, he could. And we stepped out of the car, and Heather ran out the door and said, it's a boy. And it was, I would think, the most astounding moment in my life.
But Bob, when she ran out and she said to you, it's a boy, did you understand immediately what she meant?
What she was talking about.
Well, when I got the phone call, I had no idea what they were talking about.
What they say?
They said, it's a boy, and I said, what? What's a boy? What? What are you talking about? And they said, you have a brand new baby boy. Oh. And I just fell apart, you know, I just fell apart. But my sister, who was there at the time, had the presence of mind to, I'm going.
It's okay.
To take a photograph of it.
Of the moment when you heard the news?
Of the moment that I heard the news.
Yeah.
It was just a
wonderful moment.
Glorious, glorious moment.
So my mom and Dad and Heather and I, and
I bought a little carrier.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
And we flew to Las Vegas, and we went to this townhouse that we were renting, and we paced back and forth looking out the window. And then this car pulls up, and out step these two people. One's carrying a baby, and they knock on the front door. They say, the way we do this here is that we present the baby to the father, and then the father gives the baby to the mother. So that was the beginning. He's now 17 and going away to boarding school.
He'll be 18, and Emily came along 2 years after that. We had a little notice for Emily, so
did you?
I did have a couple of diapers, you know. But that first time, there's something about that first time, you know, that is so remarkable.
Gosh, you've done so many wonderful series, and everybody loves you.
Mr. Television.
Mr. TV.
Milty and I, yeah.
You were working on The Lazarus Man.
Right.
And I guess a couple of weeks into it, you found out that you had a serious illness. Do you want to talk a little bit about what happened?
Well, I actually had completed the first whole season. And one day on the way to work, I found this lump and thought, well, I ought to check that out. So I go and have it removed, and they went, oops, this is not what we thought it was. And they sent this to the pathology lab, and they said, this is something else. And they sent it to New York to Sloan Kettering, and they confirmed that it was this rare, virulent form of cancer. He said I had a better chance of winning the lotto than getting this cancer. And I don't know, but they just guessed that, you know, they thought that I was not going to be able to do it. So just days later, they canceled the show, and which was very disappointing because I felt finally that I had found the role that, you know, most was like me and what I represented, and it was a major, major disappointment. So,
knowing what you know now, do you think you would have been able to
without
continue?
question.
Really?
Absolutely. My system, I have bounced back from this chemo like they've never seen before. The white cells come up, and, you know, my hair's fallen out. But, you know, a good wig maker, and I could have been working. So it's a 28 days I've had off since this. I mean, we could have done, you know, I could have been in 4 days of each episode. I could have done 8 or 9 episodes. But so I felt like maybe it was a little premature, and who knows? I mean, there's all kinds of things I'll never know about why they made that decision.
I think initially it was very scary, and it is a very scary thing in reality, and everybody just sort of jumped the gun. But it's something that we're living with. We're dealing with it, and we do normal things.
But I think maybe what God is telling me is that take a good look,
How about
Bob. You've got everything.
Take my hand, Bob.
You've got everything you want and could possibly need. You know, you've got a wife that loves you and beautiful children who are healthy, and
it's all about thy will be done, like a mantra. We are attacking it like a job. And we have God on our side, we have our relationship on our side, we have our children, we have a beautiful family, and we are going to win.
You know what I noticed, which is so wonderful, that you both can laugh, because that's so important, the element to have humor in your life. And to...
Well, we've needed a lot of humor recently.
Yeah.
You know, we've needed to be open to it.
Sure, but that's the greatest healer of all.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I can't tell you how much I appreciate both of you taking the time to talk about it, about your life, and it's truly inspirational, and we'll keep, as always, you in our thoughts and
we
in our
love
thoughts
you
and
very
prayers.
much.
Thank you. I love it. Okay. Heather and Bob seem destined to be together from that first commercial, and now enjoy a wonderful family they have built together. I'm sure you'll join me in a prayer for Bob's continued full recovery. This talented actor has many great roles ahead. In just a moment, we'll be back with more of Marry Me. Whether it's the thrill of a new love, the rich rewards of a great relationship, or a crisis battle together, tonight's couples openly shared with us the joy of it all. I'm Cristina Ferrare, saying goodbye from the Mission Inn. I hope to see you next time when 3 new celebrity couples share the magic moment when each of them said, "Marry me."
Our celebrity couples will enjoy a second honeymoon at one of these luxury hotels, the Mauna Kea Beach Resort, the Kahala Mandarin Oriental, the Four Seasons Resort on Maui, or the Ritz-Carlton at Kapalua Bay. Air travel provided by Hawaiian Airlines. Hawaiian is Hawaii's flagship airline.
Garrett goes after a doctor prescribing death after a friend's son gets a dose of bad medicine. The 5-0 team has the cure for your ills. Hawaii 5-0, tonight at 10 on the Family Channel.